Good morning, everyone. Are we all here? Can everyone hear me okay? Right, let me get myself set up, sharing my screen. But look, thank you everybody for joining us. We had a whole load of people sign up for this webinar. Clearly, people are preparing for the new year, thinking ahead in terms of their strategy. And obviously, today we've got lots of different experts involved that can hopefully provide you some advice, give you some tips and tricks going into the new year to set yourself up for a successful 2025. So, in terms of things we're going to cover today, so we're going to do an introduction. I'll take you a little bit through our business, who we are, etc., etc. But then, importantly, I'm going to hand over to my colleagues, and we're going to cover a few different topics. So, one of those is SEO. I'm going to cover PPC, web design and development, and then we're going to do a Q&A at the end as well. So hopefully there's at least one of those topics that is valuable to you going into next year. But if you are looking after a team or a marketing function within a business, hopefully all of these are applicable to you and give you some good advice going into next year. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce ourselves. For anyone that doesn't know us, we're the Digital Maze. We're a full service marketing agency. We offer three core services: SEO, PPC, and web design. We've got a team of around 32 people working full time for us. We're based in the Midlands, but we work up and down. The vast majority of our clients are Midlands based. We've got lots of clients in Manchester, Birmingham, London, etc., etc. And we're just really, really passionate about what we do. We've been going about 12 years now, so we've got lots of experience under our belt. And that is us. I'm going to hand over to my colleagues now, and they're going to talk through all the different topics that we're going to take you through today. And first up is my colleague, John. So let me get John back in the room. Fantastic. John, over to you.
Yeah. Hi there. My name's John. I'm the head of SEO at the Digital Maze. I've been with the Digital Maze for about 6 years, but I've been in digital marketing before it was probably called that. So had a lot of information web manager roles and that kind of thing. I've got very dull hobbies, as ones you'd expect for a sort of a middle-aged man. But I used to do more interesting things. I used to be in bands and stuff. And if you fancy a copy of The Heroes of Switzerland Wishing Away single, I've got 500 under my desk at the moment. They're collector's items, I promise. But yeah, I'm going to take you through a few of the things that are happening in search at the moment. There's a lot of volatility in what's going on, a lot of change that we're currently dealing with. A big one, which I'm sure a lot of you will have seen, is the launch of ChatGPT Search, which has been sort of lauded as a killer of Google search, or a potential one. And this is launched last week, and it's currently available if you've got ChatGPT Plus and Team users. You can try it out on there. And the talk is that this could really sort of challenge Google in a couple of years' time. And one thing we can be certain about is that its current form is its current form, and it will change. Currently, it seems to be very good at the things that ChatGPT has been good at in terms of conversational type queries. It doesn't seem to be as good as sort of commercial and local queries. It seems to fall down on that. On the shorter queries, that's probably not surprising, and I'm sure it will get better at it. But if we move on to the next one, Rob, it's just the difference between ChatGPT and ChatGPT with search. Basically, ChatGPT Search has got various partnerships with sort of information companies, with sort of sports kind of information and stock market shares. So it pulls in live stuff from those, and it also pulls in information from Bing. So Bing might become more important to SEOs and the SEO of your company website. Whereas ChatGPT relied on the sort of the previous knowledge, so its knowledge might have only gone up to 2023. So if we go on to the next one, informational results, as I said, it's pretty good at that. And what you'll see with it is you've got the main panel with photographs, which are just photographs rather than sort of leading through to websites where the photographs are hosted. some information from Wikipedia. And on the right there, it's got the citations from the text, and then it's got a list of search results. Whereas with Google, you've got the knowledge panel there that's kind of rich in terms of the interaction and the amount of information it displays. So I'd say Google still wins on that. If we move on to the next one, looking at commercial results, I think Google's got really good at detecting commercial intent when you want to buy something. So this is a query for integrated dishwashers. And as you can see with GPT, again, we've got photographs and sort of a description of what an integrated dishwasher is. Compared to Google, you've obviously got a shed load of ads, which is obviously an important thing for Google. And then you've got results. Some people also ask questions, and you've also got organic shopping results, which is an important development that we've seen over the past year for e-commerce businesses. And then looking at local results, again, I've seen local results for some businesses. ChatGPT will pull up a map, which is not as good as Google's, and it looks, it's obviously we've got a very text heavy sort of response from ChatGPT on that. Whereas Google has still got that sort of really rich sort of in terms of features, in terms of what it's offering the user, and it tends to be more accurate as well in giving the user what it wants, what you want, sorry. But there's no doubt about it that ChatGPT is going to get better at this. And some people have said, it might take a couple of years, it might take 4 years, but people can see ChatGPT search sort of outgunning Google in the future. And I mean, what it is really good at still is the sort of the conversational stuff. So, like, if you want a solution for something, like looking for a line of regex code, which I use to sort of query Google Search Console and stuff like that. You can have a conversation with it about refining it and making it better and making it do exactly what you want it to do. And ChatGPT is still far better at doing that than Google is. If we move on to the next one, yeah, and this is all linked in, that the sort of you'll have all have seen the AI overviews that you get with the results, which can be useful or maybe not so useful. This is a useful, a not so useful one maybe is I asked it about which were the best preserved railways in the UK. And it said that the North Yorkshire Moors Railway was one of the biggest in southern England, which is obviously clearly wrong. But obviously, AI overviews are a big thing for Google, and there was some sort of thought in the industry a little while back whether they might roll them back completely, because it might be affecting ad revenue and stuff like that. But I've obviously gone sort of a full fathom 5 behind it, and yeah, it's rolling out to another 100 countries. So that will impact your business and traffic to your website potentially if you've got international markets. And if we move on to the next one, the other one involves AI as well, and that's the new shopping experience that you can currently experience if you're in the US. And if you click on the shopping tab there, obviously you can use a VPN if you do want to look at it. And here they're sort of integrating sort of AI recommendations based on your query. So, for example, I've asked for sunglasses in Florida, so it's given me a rundown of the type of sunglasses that I perhaps should buy if I want sunglasses and I'm in Florida, and it gives recommendations, gives articles about sunglasses, and it has products as well. And as well as the AI thing, this is part of a grab that Google is making to become a marketplace, as it's sort of trying to fight off the challenges of Amazon and social media channels, such as TikTok and Instagram, which are sort of on their turf at the moment. And if we move on to the next one, if you're a company, then you'll want to sort of measure the impact of these changes in terms of search and AI. In terms of Google AI overviews, one of the tools that we've used to look at the impact is SEMrush. And by using that, you can look at, which of your pages are appearing in those AI overviews and for what queries. And you can look at the results as well, because SEMrush takes a snapshot of the search results, so you can see exactly how it's appearing at the moment, and you can assess the impact of that. Because I mean, one of the things with one of the clients that I've been looking at, one of the sort of the top performing pages that we had, the guides, that's appearing in AI overviews for sort of 34 different queries at the moment, and that has definitely impacted the amount of click-throughs that we're seeing through to the website. So by using a tool like this, you can see what is working, what is not, what content is appearing in these searches and why, and that might influence, what you do in the future. So if we move on to the next one, and that's in terms of measuring sort of AI traffic to your site. And here I've used Google Analytics and Looker Data Studio as two ways that we can do that. You can do that by just using a simple regex filter in the main sort of traffic acquisition reports to filter out that AI traffic. And you can also build reports in explorations, in the explorations tab in Google Analytics. Google Analytics 4 is not the most popular with most people, but it is quite flexible in terms of building stuff like this. And what we're seeing at the moment is that traffic is very small in terms of what's coming through, but it's grown over the past 3 months. So that's something that you'll want to measure the impact of. Currently, it's something like 0.1% of traffic that we're seeing coming through to the website, to this particular website. We can move on to the next one. So also in the Google news, there's been lots of stuff going on. The US Department of Justice has proposed, potentially breaking up Google, which obviously would have kind of a massive effect on the market potentially. Whether or not that will happen, there's a lot of different factors in that. Obviously, one of them might be the new president, but it's obviously something for us to keep an eye on over here. Google's replaced its head of search, who was had been in all kinds of trouble in terms of our industry and people using Google. He was one of the people that was seen as sort of ruining search results. So it'll be interesting to see what happens off the back of that. There's store ratings being rolled out in the UK, which can help your company get better visibility in terms of search results and sort of e-commerce queries and stuff like that. And that's something we'd recommend you looking at getting if your e-commerce is your thing. And in terms of search volatility, the sort of the changes in the search results and the search result pages, that's very much something that we're still seeing at the moment, because that has been one of the major things this year in search, is kind of the rise of organic shopping and just the amount of features and elements that we're seeing in search, which is sort of made product pages more important than category pages to a certain extent. And that's where we're seeing with clients a lot more traffic going to product pages where they have been optimized for Google search, getting the traffic and sort of the category pages falling away. But I think that's about it from me today anyway. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, Rob. Hi, everyone. My name is Irina Holiday, and I'm a head of PPC here at the Digital Maze. I joined the company just over 2 years ago, and been a head of PPC here ever since. And I have been in the world of all things paid for over 17 years now, which is a rather scary number. And during this time, I've been working on B2B, B2C clients, have been on a client side, have been on agency side, have been working on a bit of international search engines as well, such as Baidu and Yandex. So done all of it. A fun fact about myself, I'm a former hobbyist model, and I am now trying to be a photography enthusiast. And you're likely to spot me on the street with a camera. Wonderful. So let's crack on, and I will start with a update from Google, and it's about the Google Shopping. And Google Shopping ads are now available in Google Lens, which is pretty exciting, and it's just in time for a seasonal shopping when everybody's just thinking what to get to their loved ones for Christmas. And as of October, users will be able to see the product listings while using Google Lens to search, to just make the visual shopping easier. And the Google Lens will now show a little bit more of a prominent information for products when the product is identified. So this includes the price comparisons across various retailers. It's some of the deals that are currently available for these products. It's where you can buy them. It's the product reviews, etc., etc. So basically, all of the shopping features. It's been rolled out for both iOS and Android. So if you are an iOS user, if you download the Google app, you should be able to access this feature as well. This is now available in selected countries. However, this does include United Kingdom, USA, and most of the EU countries, so it's already available for us, and we can jump on it straight away. Moving on, again, another update from Google, and this is about the data retention policy. And Google has recently announced 11-year data retention policy. So as of November 13, which is less than a week from now, the new data retention policy is going to be implemented, which could impact reporting and the long-term analysis, which means all of the account data, including the performance metrics, the billing information, and the historical reports, will now be retained for a period of 11 years. This is going to also apply to the data accessed via Google Ads API. And what Google recommends to do is to retrieve and store the historical data before November 13th, which is, like I said, less than a week from now. So you better hurry up if you want to do that. If we move on to the next slide, please. Another update from Google, it's a pretty big one. It's the update on Performance Max and the regular shopping campaigns. So Google is now rolling out changes on how Performance Max and standard shopping campaigns are competing in the auction and how they're interacting in this auction if these campaigns are in the same account and targeting the same products. So these changes are going to include, first of all, the fact that Performance Max is no longer going to be automatically prioritized over standard shopping campaigns. And from now on, the ad rank will determine which ad will serve for the overlapping campaigns. Now, there's no immediate action that is required. However, do keep in mind that we are obviously approaching a very busy shopping period, including the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday, and this could affect the account performance. So I would suggest to just keep a close eye on your shopping campaigns. Moving on, yet another update from Google, and this is once again about the Performance Max campaigns. But in my opinion, this is a lot more pleasant update from Google, and it's a bit of a present for all of us. What Google has introduced recently is a segmentation to Performance Max asset groups, which means that Google now allows to see and to get a little bit more insights on Performance Max campaigns performance. And this is the feature that has been requested from Google, probably one of the most frequently requested features, to be honest. And it's now finally available in selected Google Ads accounts. So do check your Performance Max campaigns if you have them. Perhaps you already have this feature available. And the segment feature allows advertisers to break the performance down by device, by the conversion type, by the time, by network, etc. Basically everything what segment usually does when you use it. If we move on, yes, thank you, Rob. The next update is from Meta and about the generative AI tools, and this is about Meta expanding generative AI to video ads. So back in May this year, Meta has announced generative AI for images, which received an overwhelmingly positive feedback from advertisers. And this has now been expanded to video to allow advertisers expand their video assets, very much like with the images earlier this year. Additionally, the platform introduced the image animation tool, which allows advertisers create dynamic video from a static image. This is designed for brands with limited video resources, so they could animate, for example, the highest performing images to test them in Reels, etc. So pretty exciting update. And the last but not the least is once again from Meta, and it's a bit of a word of warning, a bit of a cheeky update from them, I would say, and it's the fact that Meta has added automatic adjustments to ad accounts. Now, if you have been, if you have been in the industry for a while, if you have been running Google Ads for a while, you probably think that it looks kind of familiar, and it does. So what it means essentially that the certain adjustments can happen to your account, and they can be done by Meta without your explicit consent. And this may include pausing or activating campaigns or ad sets. It can be consolidating ad sets and campaigns. It can be adjusting the budgets up or down, or consolidate the audience segments, and more. So if you wanted to opt out of this, I personally decided to do that because I'm not comfortable for Meta to make all of the changes without my explicit consent. All you need to do is navigate to All Tools, go to Automated Rules, click See Automatic Adjustments, go to Manage Automatic Adjustments, and then toggle the feature off, just like on the screenshot on the right. And I believe that is everything from my side. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Irina. Hello, everybody. Quick intro from me. So I am Liam and the Technical Director at the Digital Maze. I've been doing this for 15 plus years now, across all aspects of software engineering, website development and application development. My main day-to-day role at the minute is to lead the design and development functions. And over the years, we've worked with hundreds of different clients across different frameworks, platforms, sectors. My hobbies aren't as interesting as John's and Irina's. I generally spend most of my time looking into the world of tech, which I know is pretty boring, and making sure my two young children stay alive. So moving on to my updates now. I'm not sure if we've got any developers in the chat or the stream, but I know if we've got marketers in there, you will work with developers, whether that be internally or with agencies. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a tool that developers use called GitHub Copilot. And this is or was kind of featured at the beginning of last year as the next big thing to sit alongside ChatGPT in the developers toolkit to help them improve the work they do and get a bit faster and things like that. It sits inside the kind of the software that developers typically use. And the idea is it was all about saving time and helping write functions and debug things, improve, repetitive tasks and things like that. But what actually happened is the original piece of software wasn't that great. So that was just my little introduction, and that they've released a big update in the past few weeks, which if we go on to the next slide, kind of really changes the game a little bit from a developer's point of view. What they've done now is essentially integrated the likes of ChatGPT, Bard, and the other GPT models in the developer's toolkit. So this allows developers to just sit where they are, writing their code, and then on the left-hand side, they can just ask questions, essentially ask the ChatGPT model to check the work, test the work, even write particular functions when needed to. And the big benefit is it can look at the entire project that you're working on, read all of that code, and provide much more meaningful insight into the code that's being written. So it's a really, really powerful tool that's just been kind of released over the past few weeks to improve how developers work. And what that means for, I suppose, a lot of the marketers is when you are requesting changes to websites and things like that, it should happen a bit more efficiently, a bit more quicker, and reduce the room for error. So I suppose if you've got internal developers within your organization or you work with agencies, this is definitely a tool I would recommend anyone to use because whilst ChatGPT is really helpful for generating content and like the Search GPT looks good in terms of answering those questions, this is the kind of the equivalent that's coming for the world of development. Actually, I've got a question on that, which we'll answer at the end. And then I'm just going to move on to e-commerce frameworks. So I'm hoping a lot of you know and I've heard of the likes of Shopify and WooCommerce. So these are the two largest kind of main e-commerce frameworks that exist at the minute. And Shopify over the past couple of years has really been eating away at WooCommerce's market share. So you can see as of the kind of the data I've pulled, they are very, very close in terms of the market share based on, I think this is from the top 1 million sites. They are both very good frameworks, and you kind of need to choose what you want carefully. So I was just going to move on to, what the big updates are from these two frameworks in the past couple of weeks. So starting with Shopify. So Shopify is its own ecosystem and its own product. They've been working a lot on AI recently, and a lot of the things they've been working on have been less about the front end, but more about the store owner. So they've been implementing something called Magic and Sidekick. Sidekick is essentially a little ChatGPT bot for the store owner. So the store owners can now ask questions about what's my top selling products, or can you pull me the data for sales in this category over the past week? And that will just kind of streamline those processes and tasks behind the scenes. It's also been pretty big on generating content, whether that be, updating images, can you remove the background of this product and so on and so forth, but also, can you help me write a description for my products or my meta information and things like that. So it's been really heavily focusing on that. And likewise, on the front end, it does have its own chatbot that store owners can use now, which really help to aid conversion for users. So the results are kind of tailored based on your store, the content on your store, and the products within. So users can kind of do a bit of a Q&A if they've got questions, and the generative AI will try its very best to answer those. So like I say, Shopify have been focusing more on their product and the store owner side, whereas WooCommerce have been working on the front end. If we move on to the next slide, Rob. So this is one of the main things that have come out of WooCommerce in the past few weeks. And for those of you that use websites, this might look a little bit familiar, and it's very different from the old style WooCommerce checkout. So the first observation really is Shopify have spent thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, on perfecting their checkout experience. And it appears that WooCommerce have spotted this, looked at improvements that they want to make to their core experience, and stolen quite a lot of it. So for store owners that are on WooCommerce, this will be a good thing, especially from the point of converting users at that final stage of checkout. But I will just note that if you are on WooCommerce and you want to switch to this, do go with a bit of caution, because with WooCommerce, there can be lots of customizations in your checkout, and it might break things, which obviously you don't want to happen. So I definitely speak to your internal devs or the developer that looks after your website before doing so. But generally speaking, this new checkout experience, from what I've seen, is very good because it's heavily based on Shopify's, and I would expect it to be rolled out across a lot more stores soon. And again, just to note that you don't need to switch to this. Like, you can still use your existing checkout over the coming months, but I would definitely recommend you explore doing so to improve those conversions. And I think that's about it from me. I can see a couple of questions in the chat as I've been talking, so we'll cover those off at the end.
Hi everyone, I'm James, as Rob's just clicked a big picture of me there. But I'm head of web design at the Digital Maze. I work as part of Liam's team, so I lead a team of designers here. I've been in the design game for about 15 years, although I've been saying that for about 2 years, so it's probably 17 now. I've worked across print, I've worked across point of sale, I've worked across branding. I've done a bit of everything there is to do, but web design became sort of my passion and my focus. And I've been leading teams in web and UI for about 10 years now. But I've been thinking of like a designer to some degree since I picked up a crayon as a kid. So that's something I like to do in my spare time. I like to stay alert to the world of graphic design. I like to stay just up to date with all the trends in web as well. So I'm always thinking about it to some degree. If you move us on, Rob. Just a heads up. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about AI today. I'm also going to discuss some AI, but I think it's a bit touchier when it comes to creative subjects. There are definitely areas where AI just creates everything for you and it sort of cuts out the human element of that thing. I'm going to talk about some things that I think straddle that line or are on the right side of that line, and everybody's take on that is different. Everybody's personal stance is different, and that's absolutely fine. But I like to keep it so that AI is enhancing creativity, not replacing it. Move it on. So first, I'm just going to talk about some cool new toys. So these might be relevant to you if you are a designer, if you're looking to get into a bit of design. Maybe you're a small business owner and you've got to do some of this yourself, and you've been looking at the tools and opening up and finding out what's going on. Or maybe you have a team of designers and you want to share some new cool tips and tricks with them. So let's get into the first one. This has been around for a little while now, but I think they've just done a few updates to it. This is something from Adobe. Adobe are great at this, releasing little new betas of cool new ideas. They don't always survive, but whilst they are around, they are fun. So Project Neo is a 3D design tool, but the unique angle on it is that the user interface to it is targeted at people who are used to designing in a 2D space. So if you've ever worked with Adobe Illustrator or other vector-based programs, you'll be really comfortable with Neo. And then, as you can see in the image here, you can just export that stuff straight to Illustrator once you've made it. So it's a great way if you need to add some like depth to some of your creative that you've got going on. Maybe you've got some ads that need a funky background. You're just trying to showcase your product in a new, exciting way, and all the stock sites are coming up a bit short. Maybe you want to go out there, have a dabble, create some of your own really cool, quick 3D stuff. So this is it's a beta. It's out there. You can get it. I've included a little video in this deck. So when you can see this deck later, when it gets sent out, you'll be able to click that and have a look. That's just a video from another creator who's talking about how to use it. He creates some really quick lollipops and like duplicates them and makes some really cool graphics. So this is more than anything, this is just fun to have a go with and express some creativity and see what you can produce. You might find a use for it in your creatives, you might not, but it's just a good entryway to 3D design. It's an awful lot easier than spending 4 hours trying to figure out how the hell Cinema 4D works or Blender or something like that. So I encourage you to have a look at this, have a go, share this with the designers in your team and let them sort of have a crack. Moving on, Rob. So the next tool, this is, you may have heard of Runway. Runway is a sort of video generation platform. Now, Runway sort of straddles this line because you could come to Runway and you could say, all right, I don't have anything at all. Please generate me a video, create me an image. And that's probably what they're doing in this thumbnail here. But the thing that I think works really well with Runway is they've introduced something called camera control. And so you can drop an image in. So this is where you're bringing your own creativity in. Maybe you've got some shots for your PPC creatives, but you want to have those on social. I don't know, maybe you've got somebody holding your product in the hand. Maybe you just want to see them turn, move, smile a bit. So you can add a little bit of life and movement to flat shots that you could use to like just pad out B-roll in a social video, or you could just use that to have a more engaging image. But the way this works is that you effectively just say, okay, this is what I want the camera to do. I'll change a few sliders, but also this is what I want the subject to do. So if you move us on a slide, Rob. This is on the left is a picture of me on holiday last year when I was taking a humble brag picture to send to my friends. And I thought, right, well, let's just use this on me because I know what I look like. I know what I should look like. So I can see how good of a job the the AI model is doing. So I think this works best when you're subtle with it. If you just want to add a little bit of movement and life to a scene, if you ask it to do things that aren't already in the picture, so you can see that second one, raise your arms or whatever, those hands appear out of thin air really quickly at the start of it, and they look too long, they're unnatural, it's a bit weird. Asking me to turn around, it doesn't know what the back of my head looks like. So it creates the idea of a back of a head, and it looks a bit off. Whereas if you're just like, okay, we've got this nice shot, we just want to add a bit of movement, a bit of dynamism, I think that's fine. Like, this picture can't be recreated unless we fly everybody out to Spain with a camera dolly and all of that kit. We don't have that, you know. So if you had images like this and you just want to jazz up your creative a little bit, this is pretty cool. Just be responsible with it. I think people can see through totally generated nonsense. Stuff looks weird, it looks off. So just keep it subtle, keep it simple, use it to pad out your B-roll, maybe just create some exciting creatives. But yeah, that's what you can do with this. There are free credits out there right now. I haven't done this, but a thought I had was, why not go to Adobe Neo, create some cool new 3D, then bring it into Runway and ask it to do something, see what it does with it. So, you know, these are how you can combine some of these little tools that are around at the moment that to a degree are free, and just see what you can do, see how you can enhance your creatives that you're putting out there already. Moving us on, Rob. So the next section, I'm just going to talk about a couple of things that are on the horizon. They're largely beta things you might need access to, or things people are workshopping that aren't out in the wild yet, but they could be game changers. So it's worth keeping an eye on these and just, you know, following the right social channels, whatever you need to do so that you can stay abreast of when these things become reality. Moving us on. So the first is a bunch of new AI tools. Yep, that word just keeps coming up, in Figma. So Figma, if you're not aware, is basically the industry standard user interface design tool. So if you've got people designing websites for you and they're not using something like Figma or Framer or something like that, then they're probably a bit behind the times. Nonetheless, Figma have been introducing a new UI to their system, but as part of that, they're throwing a load of AI tools at the wall and seeing what sticks. Generally, they're all right, but they fit into what I call two categories. One is meh, which is just, okay, I see what you've tried to do here, but it doesn't work that well. So in that category, I've put this function I have called first draft. And first draft falls into that category of AI I was talking about earlier, where it just tries to do it all for you. So you can see in that little video to the left, it says, oh, make me an app of a cake thing or whatever. That's a truly idealized version of this. In my attempts to use this, it can't really do much beyond this really sort of house style of like Web 2.0, 3.0 app sort of stuff. If you want it to create a complex interface, it's just not going to do that for you. And it shouldn't be doing that for you. You should, as a designer, know how to do that. Nonetheless, you could maybe use it to quickly test ideas, but I would say a pen and paper is a lot better and a lot faster at that. It can also try and automate your prototyping, which you can see in the middle. And this is like where you draw the logic lines between everything. So in a prototype, somebody can click a button, then it go to this screen, that screen. It's okay at doing this in really simple scenarios, but not much faster than you would be. So in that respect, you would have to check it anyway, make sure that it all works. So just do it yourself. However, in the column that I've got called neat, I've probably gone too far, there we go, are three little things that they only have one video for that are really cool and really useful and actually do cut down on some of the tedium of design. So renaming layers, this is excellent. If you've never been in a design doc, you won't know what I mean. But when designers are up against it, the last thing they have time to do is rename every single layer. It's good practice to do so, so that developers and other stakeholders can make sense of the layers in the document, but it's not always a reality. This has a really good go at naming your layers logically so that it at least makes sense to people. And it's just a nice little touch that you can do at the end of a document. If you don't have time, you've got to move on to the next thing. Replace content. This is also really useful. So, Rob, you've moved on again. So replace content. You can see when you drag the box down. This is if you've got repeating areas where you've got, say, just something that I need a list of products or a list of things, and I just need some ideas for the next ones rather than typing lorem ipsum into it over and over again. You can have like context sensitive repeats. You can see it there going down. They're doing like cake fillings or something like that. And remove background. This is a tool that's everywhere, but recently we had to, jump over to Photoshop if we want to remove the background from a subject. We can just try it natively in Figma now. It's not always perfect. If it isn't, we still have to go to Photoshop. But being able to do that stuff natively in Figma is really useful and a great time saver if we just want to make a subject have a transparent background and put it over another element. So those are the ones that I think actually help you as a designer. I think the other stuff's really exciting initially and tempting, but it doesn't actually help you be a better designer, whereas the three on the right do. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is something Adobe showed at their recent conference, Adobe Max, which is where they show off all their new fancy things that they're doing. Caveat with that, Adobe like to show off new fancy things because investors like it, and then some of them never materialize. So whilst this is an amazing tool, don't get too excited. It may never happen, but keep an eye on this one. If you work in a space where you've got to take one graphic and make lots of different sizes for it, so that if you fire something up in Illustrator, you've got all your layers, you've got your logo, you've got your backgrounds, you've got all your information. But then you have to go, okay, right, well, now I've got my size that fits Instagram stories, or I've got my size that fits the sidebar on this this site that we're working on. This is a tool that's just going to take that and suggest layouts for you. So it'll remove all your layers around and go, well, this should work. And you can fine tune it from there, obviously. But as a way to just cut down on some of that grunt work of just relaying out assets over and over again, if this works as well as they show it does, then this could be a game changer for people in those positions and just really increase your efficiency and make it so that you can do a suite of ads or creatives for the website or whatever you need to do really quickly. And the basic stuff is done for you. Like, you might want to fine tune it, but it'll really give you a heads up and a leg start. A head start and a legs up. That's what I mean. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. And yes, it is actually called Project Remix a lot at the moment, which I find very strange and a really out-of-date reference for people my kind of age. But yeah, moving us on. So yeah, the next few things we're going to look at are basically some stuff I've been investigating recently that just essentially, they're not going to create design for you. They're not going to amplify your design ability, but they are going to make you a bit smarter and a bit more tuned in to how users react with your designs. Moving us on. So the Baymard Institute are a user experience investigative intern. What's the word? I don't know. I'm a designer. I'm not that clever. Essentially, they are a place that does loads of research on user experience, and they've been going for years and years and years and years. They've got over 150,000 hours of research into the industry. So this is across different industries. This might be in hospitality, it might be in retail, it could be in fashion, it could be in whatever. They know it. They know how to optimize your website. They've seen how it's done. They've assessed how other people have done it. They have a paid tier, really expensive, right? I'm not suggesting anyone goes out for that, although it could work out for you just to know what to test and what to change on your website. But crucially, they have a massive trove of free research, and they've had that for a while, but they've started taking some of that and putting it into bite-sized 3 to 5 minute YouTube videos, and they're really easy to understand and parse what they're trying to say to you. And I don't think I've watched a single one of these that hasn't had an actionable thing you could go and change about your website and see if that makes a difference. Simple stuff like optimizing fields on checkouts, structure for your navigation menu, that kind of thing. But rest assured, these guys have done the research. It's not just somebody suggesting it's a good idea. They've tried it. They know it. They've seen it. So go and subscribe to this. They're really short, sharp watches, and they're just really interesting. Not everything they do is going to apply to you, but when it does, it's going to feel really powerful information. You're going to be glad you knew it. Moving us on. Something that I don't think is particularly new, but it's new to me and my team, is UXL. So yeah, that is a pun on user experience and excelling, pronounced UXL. This is a sort of Duolingo-esque app that provides 5-minute daily training in UX basics and foundations, and then going on into the more complicated stuff. There is a free tier to it. It is limited, but it's a good way to get a taste. But if you've got people in your team who you think, right, we need to know more about general user experience and how that applies to the user interface of our website or our product or whatever we do, but we want to just get a broader understanding across everybody in the business without wasting hundreds of hours or paying thousands of pounds of staff training. This is a really nice way, like a gamified way to learn a bit more about that across teams. And you don't have to be a designer to do it. You don't have to do all the stuff about typography. There's all sorts of different courses in there about like psychology, color theory, accessibility, all of this sort of stuff. And it just gives everybody a really good grounding in that. If you are selling to users on the internet, you should understand some of this stuff, because it's going to change the way you perceive what you should be doing with your website. You're going to start thinking about it from a user first perspective, which is always going to be a better experience for the people who part with their money. So have a look at this, check it out. It's a game changer for me and my team. We did end up jumping to the paid tier, but the free stuff's still good enough to just have a little flirt with. Yeah, that's me, I think. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you to all of our experts, and thank you to you all as well, who have spent the grand total of 46 minutes with us. I know everyone's busy on a Thursday morning, so we're very grateful for everybody's time. We're going to wrap it up. We have got 15 more minutes, so we're going to open to questions in just a second, but very, very quickly. Two things. One, a couple of little plugs. Apologies. So we do have our own podcast. It's on all the places you expect, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's called Room 301. Very similar to this. We get our experts on, whether internally or externally, and we offer what we think is the best and most up-to-date marketing advice available. And anybody who is in the Midlands, particularly in Derby, we are running an event on the 27th of November. We've got two great speakers from the local area, both experts in marketing in their respective rights. Free beer, free food. It'd be great to see anybody. If anybody does want to come along to that, we'll probably drop you an email, but feel free to find myself or one of my colleagues on LinkedIn, ask for an invite, and we'll get you on that list, and we'll hopefully see you then. So I'm going to let everybody back in the room, and I'm going to cherry pick some questions from this chat. So if you just bear with me just a moment. Hello, John. Hello, Irina. Hello, James. And hello, Mr. Nelson. Okay, so let me get my screen stopped. Perfect. Well, anybody who does have any questions, feel free to drop them in. We will try our best to get to them, but I'm just going to scroll back, and I am going to cherry pick some. So first of all, I'm going to guess this is for Mr. Nelson. Downside of GitHub Copilot. Enlighten us.
So I would say I'll start with the benefit. So the benefit is a lot of the time, before using this tool, you would use something like ChatGPT. You would have to have a fairly lengthy conversation to get it to understand the context of what problem you're trying to fix, or what code you're trying to write, or how you want something debugged. Copilot fixes that because it understands a lot more of the context of the code project that you've got on. The downside is with a lot of these tools, like it's currently still in a beta phase. So there are some errors, and it does, just like ChatGPT, it does spit out bad code from time to time. So you still need to be a fairly skilled developer to understand the output that it's giving you, or the suggestion that it's doing. One of the big benefits are the things like the unit testing and documentation and code commenting. That is something that no developer likes to do, and they're very boring tasks, but are also necessary. Whereas something like Copilot can give you proper, meaningful unit tests and comments in the code, but also it can write functions as well. So I'd just say, because it's fairly early, it's in beta phase. Like with a lot of the tools, it does keep promising the world. There's lots of other updates that they keep saying that they're going to push through, but it's been that way for about 18 months now. So it's definitely something to use, but I suppose, like with any AI, always treat it with a bit of caution on the other end.
Brilliant. Hope that answers your question. Thank you, Liam. So Adam asked, are there any free alternatives to SEMrush? Presumably that will be for Mr. Greenwich.
I'm not sure whether there's still a free, in terms of Ahrefs, that does AIO stuff as well. I'm not sure if there is still sort of a free option on that. There's also a tool called SEO Clarity. You can get a trial on that, I believe. So that's one that you might want to look at. But in terms of free tools, it's not something that I've come across that I can think of at the moment anyway.
Perfect. I believe I just saw a PPC question. So, Laura asks, do you recommend PPC advertising to generate leads for commercial solar PV projects? Irina, any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And the short answer is yes. As a matter of fact, it's hard to find the industry or a certain business type that I would not recommend running PPC for. Like, I would say it's absolutely worth a shot, and yeah, absolutely give it a go, give it a test, and let us know if you need any help with that.
Samir, do we have any courses or webinars on coding, programming, UI? To be fair, I think, Samir, we'll probably follow up with you directly on that, because actually we've got a bank of webinars. I think, I don't know the exact number, probably 10 or 15 at this point, but they cover lots of different topics, and some of them are particularly focused on the web and programming side of things. So yeah, we'll certainly follow those up. Or if you want to head to our website, it's under the resources tab, and you'll see all of our previous webinars there. Kavita, what about Magento?
That one's for me, I'm guessing.
Liam's the right person for this one.
In terms of market share, so Magento in the 2010s had a fairly large market share. That was probably the go-to e-com platform for businesses of all sizes, particularly large-scale e-commerce ones. Then towards the end of 2018, 2019, they overhauled the product and annoyed a lot of people, store owners and developers, because you essentially needed to rebuild the entire site. And that's when people started jumping to the likes of WooCommerce and Shopify more. And since then, Magento's been playing catch up. Obviously, they were bought out by Adobe, and Adobe like to create a bit of a monopoly, and they don't treat their products with a lot of care, I would say, sometimes.
As a designer, can confirm this is very true.
I was wondering if James
I think at the minute, we deal with a lot of business owners and people wanting advice on tech and frameworks. I get a lot more people asking what framework they should move away from Magento, as opposed to I want to put my site on Magento, is my personal experience with that. And I think at the minute they've probably got, I think it's less than 2% of the overall e-com market share. They have updated the product in the past year to focus more on the CMS side of things and improved it. But again, in my opinion, the management and the admin tool of Magento is pretty poor, clunky, frustrating for users to actually use and manage their store, especially compared to the likes of WooCommerce and Shopify. So for me, you have to have a very specific use case for Magento to be a benefit over the other two right now, which was a long answer to the question.
Choose WooCom is what I got from that. Or maybe Shopify. Look, we'll do two more questions. We've got just a few more minutes. So first one is around GA4. So I guess this could be anybody, I imagine John and Irina, probably between the two of you, best placed to answer this. But any sort of advice on where to learn GA4 as a beginner? Google's own training is dull and convoluted. Again, probably can agree on that. I know GA4 is not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it is growing on a lot of people now. But any recommendations for where to learn, free courses, anything like
that? For me, there's a guy called Julius who's got a website called Analytics Mania, and his stuff is really easily accessible. He's quite an engaging, earnest chap, and a lot of it is solution focused as well. So if you're looking how to do something, because one of the kind of criticisms is with GA4 that they've ripped out a lot of the really useful reports. But the positive is you can do a hell of a lot more with it, but you need to do that to get the results you want. And Julius has got a lot of videos and sort of textual guides on sort of how to achieve those reports and the kind of tracking and stuff that you need. So yeah, I definitely recommend him.
Yeah, and I second that. And every time, I'm not sure what to do with J4, and I go to Google and I look for stuff. 9 times out of 10, it's Julius's website, and more often than not, all the recommendations are working. So yeah.
Perfect. And then last question. And if anybody does have any more questions, feel free to drop us an email. hello@digitalmaze.com is a great place to find us, or I'm sure there'll be an email that is distributed at the end of this webinar, so feel free to just reply to that. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. But the last question is voice search. So I know there's a lot of noise made about voice search. I don't quite hear so much about it anymore. I think probably because of the AI wave at the moment. But any thoughts on that, John? On voice search, how it will play a part? Will it play a part?
I think it will. Obviously, voice search has been the coming thing for ages and ages and ages. I guess it is getting a lot better, and it is kind of more integrated into a lot of the tools that Google's using at the moment, and it is very much sort of AI based. So, for example, that's something like Google Lens, where you can circle stuff now and sort of ask where you can buy stuff or where is this place and stuff like that. So, I think it might actually become more important now in terms of what we need to optimize for. But that kind of fits into the whole the whole way that search is going in terms of and what you need to apparently to do to appear in AI overviews and stuff like that in terms of making sure that your content is conversational and has that context, sort of has a rich context. Kind of one of the ways in which Google's sort of filtering out sort of helpful or good content. So I think certainly AI and NLP and stuff does definitely have a massive role, a very important role in terms of voice search and how big it's going to become over the next few years.
Brilliant. Well, look, thank you everybody for their questions. Thank you everyone for their time. There's 31 of you still remaining, and we've taken up an hour of your time. So hopefully you found all the information valuable. There's a couple of questions in the chat about how often we do these webinars. So at the moment, we're looking at doing them quarterly. So actually, this format that we've got here, so getting our best people on a webinar to tell you all the latest trends that have happened in the last quarter and upcoming in the following quarter as well. We're looking at using this format going forward, so on a quarterly basis. So yeah, look out for invites to webinars in the future. If we get a lot of attendees, a lot of interest, we'd look to do them more frequently potentially. So that's always another option as well. And I saw another mention in the chat about B2C and B2B. Yes, a lot of the examples today are probably B2C, but actually I think a lot of the stuff we've spoken about is very applicable to both B2B and B2C, but that's really good feedback for the future. I think a lot of the people on these webinars are from a B2B background as well, so I think, yes, we'll include some B2B examples. So thank you once again. Thank you, John, Irina, James, and Liam, and we'll see you again next quarter, so look out for the invites to those. Cheers, bye-bye.
Good to see you.
Ta-ra.
Bye.